In this video, I'm going to demonstrate creating and editing a column chart in Excel. So I'm going to start out by going to the sectors worksheet, which is where my data source is. And I'm going to select A3 through C15. And this is just a breakdown of where the investments are distributed. So once I've got my data source selected, I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and then this time in the Charts group I will choose Column, and I'm just going to do the first option under 2D, the clustered column chart. So there's my chart. Now I need to move it to the Summary Report sheet, so I'm going to go to the Chart Tools Design tab, which has now showed up because I just inserted this chart, and click on the Move Chart Location button. And then again, I'm going to go to the Object In option and choose the Summary Report sheet and click OK. Then I'm going to go ahead and move my chart where I want it in the sheet and adjust the chart size so it's not overlapping the other information. So I'm going to move the right-hand border over to the edge of column E and the bottom border down to the bottom of row 37. Okay, so the chart by default has a legend, and since I only have one data series, I don't really need the legend. My reader will be able to figure out what it is without the legend. So I'm going to go to the Chart Tools Layout tab, and I'm going to click the Legend button in the Labels group, and I'm going to click None to turn off the legend. So it gives me more room for my chart to show up here. Okay, so with a bar or with a column chart like this, I now have the axes. I have the value or the y-axis over here, the vertical axis, and the category axis or the x-axis or the horizontal axis on the bottom. So I'm going to make some modifications to the vertical axis, and I'm going to use the Chart Tools Layout tab to do that. So I'm going to come to the Axes group on the ribbon, and I'm going to click on the Axes button. And then I'm going to choose Primary Vertical Axis. And I'm going to go to the More Primary Vertical Axis options because I have more than one thing that I want to do. And I can accomplish those if I open the dialog box. So the first thing I want to do is to make some changes in how the numbers on the vertical axis are displayed. And I'm going to start out by changing the maximum, which is the highest number on the vertical axis. So right now it's a default selection. I'm going to change it to fixed, and I'm going to specify the highest number, and I'm going to change that to 0.25, and then I'm going to change the intervals on the axis, the major unit intervals. So I'm going to again click on fixed, and then I am going to specify that my unit intervals are 0.05. So now I've made those changes. I want to go to the Number tab, and I want to make sure that those are being displayed as percentages, and I want to change that to 0 decimal places. So I'm done making my changes on the vertical axis for now. I'm going to click close, and you'll see that the changes that I indicated have been made over here. My highest value is 25%, and the major units are increasing in increments of 5%. The next thing I want to do is change the font size on both of the axes. So I'm going to leave the vertical axis selected and go to the Home tab and to the font size and change that to 8. It gives me a little more room for my chart. And then I'm going to do the same thing down here on the horizontal axis. So if I move my mouse pointer along here, eventually I will get a screen tip that says horizontal in parentheses category axis. So I'm going to click when I see that screen tip, and then I can see that there's a selection box around the labels for the horizontal axis. So I know I've got them selected. I'm going to go then to change the font size again to 8. And I'm finished now with those modifications. The last thing I want to do with this chart for now is to change these columns a little bit. Right now there's a pretty large gap between each column, so it gives the chart kind of a spread out, spare sort of feeling, and I want to fix that. So to do that, I'm going to go to the Chart Tools Layout tab, over to the Current Selection group, and I'm going to click the down arrow next to where it says Plot Area right now, and what it says in that little box depends on what part of the chart is selected. So I'm going to click the down arrow, and what I want to do is select the data series, which would be Series New Century, down at the bottom. And I can see now that there are selection handles on all of the data points. So I'm ready to format my selection. So again, up here in the current selection, I'm going to click Format Selection. That opens up the Format Data Series dialog box. And the first thing I'm going to do is address the gap width, which is the width between the different columns. And I want to change that to 50%. And I'm just going to type it in rather than dragging the slider. So that's the first thing I want to do. The other thing I want to do is to change the fill a little bit. I'm going to change it to a gradient fill. And then I'm also going to change the direction of the gradient. So I want to change it to linear right, which is the fourth selection in the first row. And then I'm finished with that, so I can close my dialog box. I'll come back over here to A38 and click outside of my chart and take a look at the effect that the formatting has had on it. So as you can see, making those changes with the gap width and the fill color has had an impact on how those columns appear in the chart, and I think it appears in a more attractive manner this way. So that's how to create and do some editing to a column chart.